everyone. Well, once again, my name is Claudia Lucero, and for the past 3 years, I have been served as the Executive Director of CRLN. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this 30th anniversary celebration. It has been an honor and privilege to serve an organization that for 30 years has worked to build links of solidarity between faith communities, friends, and allies in Chicago and in Latin America as well, with the oppressed and the struggling people of Latin America. As someone who has experienced personally the injustices of economic dislocation, the hardship of migration, and witnessed the lasting scars left by overly militarized borders, I am very grateful for the important work CRLN has done. These forms of suffering faced by millions of our brothers and sisters are the product of a U.S. foreign policy built around imperialism, militarism, and neoliberalism. As someone who has seen the face of this suffering, I feel a deep sense of pride and honored to be part of a 30-year organizational commitment to challenging and changing these policies that have destroyed so many lives. And I am very happy and grateful to be able to share this landmark moment with all of you here who have played your part in 30 years of building solidarity and fighting for peace and justice. Our history is contained in two organizations, the CRLN and the Chicago Metropolitan Sanctuary Alliance, CMSA, which merged back in 2009. Under the leadership of Gary Cossette, we're so grateful to have him here tonight. And Martha Pierce, former director of CMSA, to whom we are all very grateful the CRLN became intervened in its current form right now. I also wanted to acknowledge their vision, their commitment, and great leadership. Let's give them another round of applause. Both organizations responded to the forced migration and displacement of predominantly Central Americans as a result of U.S. funding of military dictatorships, whose governments and militaries were targeting those suspect of involvement in resistant movements. CRLN advocated for an end to this funding, and CMSA responding to people fleeing the violence and organized congregations locally as an integral site of the national sanctuary movement to provide refuge for asylum seekers in their buildings and to challenge the politically motivated U.S. policy of deportation. Supporters in Chicago during that period, many of whom still work with CRLN at various levels of engagement, organized around providing sanctuary and to bring attention to the root causes of migration. Today, CRLN remains an organization with a transnational focus, working to change destructive U.S. policies toward Latin America and through our Latin America program, and operating locally through our immigration program to organize faith communities in supporting the needs of directly impacted immigrant communities. Also, I want to mention a couple of the highlights of CRLN during those 30 years. Just a few. I mean, the organization haven't done so much that it was even hard to choose what to mention tonight for you. But Sierra Leone's very first event was in 1989, a luncheon with a Salvadoran Lutheran Bishop Medardo Gomez, the U.S. Senator Paul Simon of Illinois, and 300 religious leaders calling for an end to U.S. military aid to El Salvador. A negotiated peace to the war took place only days after the murder of 6 Jesuit priests by the military in El Salvador. Repeatedly, Sierra Leone mobilized leaders of faith communities, many of you still here in this room, to put pressure on elected officials to change U.S. foreign policy toward the region. In the mid-90s, Sierra Leone helped to promote peace process that ends civil wars throughout Central America. The organization also started to take on US-based companies like Gap, who were exploiting Central American workers by organizing religious leaders to pressure these companies to institute codes of conduct agreements. Sierra Leone became one of the leading organizations in the effort to close the U.S. Army Notorious School of the Americas, better known as SOA, linked to teaching torture techniques and other inhumane counterinsurgency strategies. The SOA supported repressive Latin American militaries for decades. In 1999, after years of calls, letters, and visits by Sierra Leone members and others to their U.S. representatives, both Democrats and Republicans, voted with the first ever House majority to defund the School of the Americas. Unfortunately, as we know, SOA is still in operation. A year after that vote in 2000, they react to the building public pressure and were forced to change their name. In early 2000, Sierra Leone began to devote more organizational resources to address the human rights crisis, resulting from decades old civil war in Colombia, particularly in regards to the vulnerable Afro-Colombia communities. Sierra Leone also worked in coalition with other groups to fight CAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement. Sierra Leone worked on behalf of human rights in Colombia throughout the 2000 took on many dimensions, including in 2008 when we arranged for a 2-year sanctuary stay in the US for Milton Mejia, General Secretary for the Presbyterian Church in Colombia, his wife, and 2 sons. He had been receiving death threats from Colombia paramilitaries for his human rights work in his home country. By the way, when I was working and seeing the beautifully photo show that my colleagues presented, and probably you see it, it was my surprise that during the CAFTA efforts that Sierra Leone was working on, I was on one of those pictures way before. And I not even imagined that I would end up here as an executive director. Again, in 2000, the Illinois Conference of Churches, ICC, Director Reverend David Anderson, and 4 ICC board members are among the 16-member delegation to Cuba organized by Sierra Leone, and ICC to examine the impact of the US trade embargo against Cuba. In 2010, Sierra Leone started addressing the deteriorating human rights situation in Honduras, following in 2009 US-supported military coup. And in 2011, Sierra Leone compiled a list of post-coup assassinations in order to bring greater attention to the gravity of the human rights abuses happening in that country, and invited Miriam Miranda, director of the Garifuna rights group Ofrane, who gracefully accepted our invitation again. Thank you, Miriam. In 2018, in response to the Honduran military violence against participants in massive street protests following border counting fraud in the November 2017 presidential election, Sierra Leone sent 4 members and an emergency faith delegation to Honduras to accompany those continuing the protesters. While 30 people were killed in the post-electoral violence, no one was harmed in protests accompanied by that delegation during that period of time. Most recently, Sierra Leone has worked to address the criminalization of migration and the immense suffering that this caused for millions of our Mexican and Central American brothers and sisters, mainly. In 2016, in response to the announcement by the Department of Homeland Security that they will target undocumented Central American families who have fled life-threatening violence in their home countries, with mass nationally coordinated migration home raids, Sierra Leone sent a faith leader letter with 100 signatures to the regional ICE director condemning raids as an immoral and inhumane tactic. Following that, Sierra Leone continued to mobilize Chicago area faith communities to communicate their concerns in opposition to local ICE officials and regularly attended local protests and mobilizations. While raids happen in other places, no large-scale raids have so far happened here in Illinois. Earlier this year, in April, after almost 3 years in detention in Texas, a Salvadoran asylum seeker, Jessica Jovel, was finally released from prison to join the rest of her family here in Chicago. And we are so happy to have them with us tonight. Y me da mucho gusto que estén con nosotros esta noche, Ana y Jessica. But all this work, we cannot do it ourselves. Sierra Leone and the immigrant welcoming congregation, Lake Street Church, held vigils, rallied in Federal Plaza, secured the support of members of Congress, circulated petitions, generated new coverage, and found a pro bono lawyer in pursuit of justice for Jessica. These combined efforts finally let her release. One time, a friend of mine who is a demographer, she told me, consider that demographers consider 30 years to be one generation. One will think, or at least hope, that after an entire generation of labor, we will see greater peace and justice in both in Latin America and here in the US foreign policy. There have been advances, no doubt, but the civil wars that took so many lives in Latin America in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that led to the creation of Sierra Leone are, thank God, largely in the past now, though the scars of those conflicts are still very much present in the problems we see today in these destabilized regions. As we move into Sierra Leone just next generation, we have plenty of work yet to do. The violence of wars in Central America's past have transformed into the violence of today's criminal gangs, who often include former combatants from those past civil wars and are armed by the weapons of war, gifts from the US government. which flooded the region for all those decades. In response to these criminal gangs, the states in many countries of the region have found the ideal excuse to unleash their own forms of violence and brutality. And they now continue to advance the policies of heavy militarization against civilian populations. The level of brutality and the numbers of lives lost in the spiral of violence is reaching levels that rival the worst periods of the Civil War past. And as a consequence, hundreds of thousands decided their only option in the face of such violence and brutality is to flee their countries of origin and make their way north. Add to that, the increasing number of climate refugees and the migration crisis has become a front and center issue of the 21st century. The migratory journey has only become more dangerous and is fraught and with suffering with the increasing militarization of borders in both Mexico and here in the US. And probably worse, because we've been seeing the externalization of our borders going all over south to countries in Central America. The rise of xenophobia and political discourse and practice also makes migration more painful. Some current examples of CRLN work to address the crisis facing our brothers and sisters, as well here in Latin America and as well here in the US, include this year, in order to close the detention centers, and we worked hard to oppose the building of a new detention center in Dwight, Illinois. Working in coalition with other organizations, we helped to pass the Private Detention Facility Moratorium Act, HB 2040, which bars contracts with private prisons, companies for detention centers, including for-profit immigration jails. CRLN is part of the Chicago Immigrant Working Group, a group of more than 20 organizations working to make Chicago a true sanctuary city for all immigrants. We have been meeting on a monthly basis to discuss efforts to amend the city's Welcoming City Ordinance. This means advocating for the removal of the carve-outs, which currently allow the Chicago Police Department to work with the immigration enforcement. We also raised and donated $6,000 to 10 immigrant shelters and human rights services centers in Mexico and at the border through the Cosette Human Rights Fund during the exodus of our brothers and sisters from Central America last year. And because we can do this work alone, I want to take a moment before I conclude to acknowledge and to thank, first of all, members of my board, and I will ask to please stand, the members of my board. I want to say thank you for giving me, an immigrant woman from Mexico, the opportunity to serve as an executive director for such an amazing organization. I believe the voices of the people we help need to be heard, and I thank our board for allowing me to be one of those voices for our immigrant community here in Chicago. Thank you. I want to thank my colleagues, Sharon Hunter-Smith, Marilyn McKenna, who's back there. Juan Carlos Hernandez. For their hard work, commitment, passion, and leadership to do all the work they do, to maintain the engagement with our members, to work tirelessly to make things happen, to educate and engage different congregations, among other things. They do a lot, believe me. I thank the members of the organizing committee, that I'm sure a lot of those members are here tonight as well. For their engagement and commitment to CRLN that allow us to continue our work. Because a lot of the things that I mentioned before, it wouldn't be possible without you. I want to thank McCormick Seminary and LSTC for having us here today, for opening their doors. Thank you, David. Thank you, Linda, Leslie, and Tracy, for helping us to make this event such a beautiful event. I want to thank all of you, for your commitment, support, and contributions, and courage to stand up in solidarity against injustice. Without all of you, none of this work, including this event, would be possible. Last but not least, I want to give my sincere thanks to our sponsors, to the host committee members, and volunteers, and interpreters as well, that made this 30th anniversary celebration possible. And as my colleague Juan Carlos mentioned right at the beginning, it is somehow fitting that we gather at this time to celebrate 30 years of CRLN history and remember our past work on a holiday, November 2nd, that is all about remembrance. Día de los Muertos, Date of the Death. Here in this country it's called All Souls Day, but in my native Mexico, it's the final date of the celebration of the Day of the Death, Día de los Muertos. I'm sure many of you are familiar with our traditions. We all surround remembering our loved ones who have passed on. In honor of the holiday and all of those CRLN was established 30 years ago to serve and continues to fight today, I ask that we all bow our heads and observe a moment of silence, perhaps a moment of silent prayer if you choose, in memory of the millions who, despite of hard work and our best efforts, have fallen victim of the political and economic injustices we are committed to combating. Let's take a moment of silence. Día de los Muertos holiday is famous for the brightly colored calaveras, or skulls. The Catrinas, the female skeletons, draped in flowers. In Mexico, families spent all night camped out in cemeteries lit by candles, remembering those that have passed on. It is a holiday that celebrates what anthropologists and writers, poets, and artists say is a unique feature of Mexican culture, our attitude toward death. It is an approach to death that sees life and death on a continuum, in a perpetual dance, a culture that sees the dead as not truly dead, but rather alive in our memories. Most of our faith traditions have at their core of triumph over death a belief in a resurrection. And the work of CRLN is in many ways a hope of resurrection, a triumph of the human spirit, working to undo the injustices of heartless governments, policies, and corporate greed. Sierra Leone was born 30 years ago out of the overwhelming suffering and death of hundreds of thousands of our Latin American brothers and sisters. 30 years later, our organization has seen many victories and tragedies, but the hope remains that out of the darkness will emerge light. Thank you all for being a part of making hope reality. And here's to another 30 years of building solidarity, peace, and justice. Thank you. And now I think it's still my turn to be here. And we're gonna, according to our program, and because we also want to recognize our allies, the organizations, the people that been coming and walking along with us through all these 30 years. And we wanna honor and recognize 3 of our allies, very important. That help us a lot doing our Sierra Leone work and our commitment to our communities. I'm gonna start with the organization that pretty much we almost have the same age. And we pretty much started together. Centro Romero. Centro Romero is an organization that has been serving the immigrant and refugee communities for 30 years, 35 years. Actually, a couple weeks ago, they were celebrating their anniversary. And I had the pleasure to be there with them. They're located in the northeast side of Chicago. Centro Romero has been an important ally to Sierra Leone since our beginning. We have walked together in the struggle of justice with our immigrants, brothers and sisters. We have planned and celebrated El Pueblo Canta. You guys remember the famous yearly event, El Pueblo Canta? We salute their work of helping the immigrant and refugee communities achieve their self-sufficiency for more than 30 years. This is a code that they have in their website. They've been doing a tremendous work, and it's an honor to me that I can say that I've been working with Daisy Funes, Executive Director of Centro Romero, for so many years, with other hats that I have. And I know her for a long time already. Thank you, Daisy, and please come.
This is a poem taken from words, inspired by words from Saint Oscar Romero, who was canonized a little over a year ago. They are attributed to him, and they're composed from his words from sermons or thoughts, and we have put them on this, we have framed it, and it's called Prophets of a Future Not Our Own.
Wow, it is an honor for us, for Centro Romero, to receive this recognition, because it's not for Centro Romero, it's for the community we serve, immigrants and refugees. They're going through a harsh situation at this moment, as we speak. Centro Romero serves 13,000 family members. We have 35 years of services, and just to share a little bit why that I continue at Centro Romero, I am one of the co-founders of Centro Romero. I'm a refugee from El Salvador myself. So every time that I think all those children in cages, I came when I was 16 to this country. My brothers, I have 5 brothers, I have a family of 5. They all came 5 years old, 4, 6, and 7. And I was 16 when I arrived to this country. So, and that's what I keep fighting, because I believe in justice. But I remember the first time I spoke in Congress, 1980. I didn't speak a word of English. And I remember having the translator speaking to the Congress people in my name. And I said, well, you know what? I want to speak for myself. I don't want nobody to translate for me. So, and I think that's what we're trying to encourage at Centro Romero, the leadership, but also that empowerment. Empower those immigrant refugees that can speak for themselves. Thank you, and that was the philosophy of Monsignor Romero, empower those who need it most. Thank you.
Another great ally of Sierra Leone, All St. Patrick's Church. Its staff, larger community, and individual member have supported Sierra Leone pro-immigrant and pro-refugee work for more than 10 years. They have also been a generous supporter for annual fundraiser, the well-known annual luncheon. You guys remember? Under the direction of its pastor, Father Thomas Hurley, this community has reminded us that the work for justice is to work for respect and recognition of the dignity and value of every person. Father Hurley couldn't be with us today for another commitments that he has, but his staff is here. Kayla, please come.
I would just like to say that I'm happy to be here on behalf of Old St. Patrick's Church. It truly is an honor, but we will say that it's just to bear witness to the work that is being done. It's a constant reminder that we ought to put our faith in action and that we are called to be and to do better, to be allies, to do the good work that our Lord tells us to do, that calls us to do. So I just really want to say that it's because of the work that so many do in this room that we endeavor to put our faith into action. So a large thank you to everyone here.
And last but not least, another big ally of Sierra Leone will be Worldview, which no longer airs on WBEC, unfortunately. That's a shame. But we have the honor, and I'm so happy to announce that its host, Jerome McDonald, and the producers, Steve Bynum and Julianne Haida, are here today too, have played a special role in the life of Sierra Leone. The show has amplified the voices of many Latin American activists. Even Miriam mentioning to me, I think I was at that program. Those activists bring news to their struggles for sustainable economies, just relationships, and human dignity. So we want to thank Jerome's respectful style and informed questions, and the quality production work by Steve and Julian, our guests, have been able to share their experience with thousands of people. And like I said, it's a shame that it doesn't exist anymore. But they, as individuals who I'm pretty sure are committed to the work, they will continue to do it, some way or another. Thank you so much. Please come.
Thanks.
Oh, good. I got a microphone back. It was great to hear Claudia reel off some of the history of the last 30 years, and it makes me appreciate all the important work that has gone on here in this room with these people. And I was very happy to share in that important work and bring the voices that needed to be heard, that were really never heard in our community. And I know that you're going to find ways to get those voices heard and keep up the great work that you're doing. We will continue to partner with you in other shapes and forms, I am sure. And thanks a lot for recognizing us. It's really great to be here and share in this beloved community you've created.
So, I personally am overjoyed, and I have joy about this moment. Joy is not happiness, because happiness is an illusion. And we must always avoid the happiness-seeking sickness of this world, because it will lead to destruction and peril. And I was so inspired when you spoke about St. Oscar Romero, because I think about him and how he gave his life. His life was not taken. He offered himself as a sacrifice. And because he offered himself as a sacrifice, whenever we do this work, we are having liturgy. We are performing the service and the work of people, of God, religious. And so worldview was not taken. This work that we did was our sacrifice. I think about St. Ignatius of Antioch when he said, I am wheat. I am the wheat of God, and I am ground by the teeth of wild beasts, that I may become the pure bread of Christ. And so, by the offering up of your bodies and your souls and your hearts for people that most of which you've never met, those who passed on before us, but they speak to us, they beckon to us, they call us, they demand of us to do this work. And there will be no reward for you, unfortunately. Martyrs never receive a reward, they receive a crown. That's after death. While we do this work in this time, we will struggle, we will be assaulted, insulted, disrespected, and that's a good thing, because that means you're on the right side. And so what I would say, and my prayer for all of you, is that we relinquish our egos and that we rejoice in our suffering, because we do it for others. Simply put, thank you.
I'm very thankful to all of you, especially for inviting me here, to the Worldview team for including me. I'm the young one of the group. So you can imagine following Steve's talk just now and Jerome's talk, what it was like coming to work every day. I promise you, we also have there's a lot. There's, in addition to a lot of meaning, there's also a lot of depth and a lot of heart, and there's a lot of joy, and a lot of that joy comes through service. And I especially want to thank, while I've thanked Jerome and Steve for inviting me part of their team several years ago, I want to thank all of you in the sense that all of you provide an example of what it means to provide sacrificial love, to tell people's stories. And not everybody knows how to do that. I think Latin America is a bellwether for a lot of what goes on in the world, and unfortunately, being the first means it's being the hardest, right? Like the oldest child in the family. But you also provide an example of a very important word that you mentioned earlier, which is solidarity. And it's important to know that whatever struggles one is facing, one is never facing them alone. And I want to thank you, all of you, for showing that whatever struggles one is facing, they can be, at the very least, perhaps not overcome, but at least comforted and move in the direction of justice by working together. So never stop working together. And I'm continually inspired by all of you as well. So thank you very much.
You may have been reading in the paper lately that the current president of Honduras, his brother Tony, was just convicted of being the major cocaine shipper from Honduras. And Juan Orlando Hernandez, the president, was named as co-conspirator number 4. That's the tip of the iceberg of the corruption and what's going on in Honduras today. But it's a very dangerous time in Honduras, and the United States is funding the Honduran government with millions of dollars for their military and police. So I don't want to take any more time from Miriam. I'd invite her up to the podium so that she can tell you more about what's going on in Honduras today.
Gracias. Buenas noches. ¿Se escucha? ¿Se escucha? Hoy es un día muy especial porque primero son 30 años de la red de líderes religiosas de Chicago. No lo puedo decir en inglés, pero ustedes saben a qué me refiero. Es la segunda vez que estoy aquí. La primera vez fui invitada por Gary Gosser. Él me invitó la primera vez. Yo no me acuerdo el año, pero algunos de los que estuvieron aquí se recuerdan que estuve aquí. Y hoy ahora también es un honor de nuevo estar con ustedes. Invitada por Claudia Lucero, pero sobre todo es porque están cumpliendo 30 años. Creo que es muy importante y es un honor que me hayan invitado precisamente, que es un día especial para todas ustedes y todas ustedes. Pero también yo creo que es un momento histórico, porque ahora, en este momento, Honduras representa esa política exterior que expulsa pueblos. Honduras se convirtió en un laboratorio político perfecto para destruir la institucionalidad, para generar estados fallidos y para generar un narcoestado. Entonces no es casual que en los últimos meses Honduras se haya convertido en el país donde más han salido personas. Conocidas por las caravanas mediáticas. Siempre ha habido migración. Desde que el mundo es mundo, siempre ha habido migración. Los pueblos nos hemos movido por mejores condiciones de vida, por buscar otros recursos, por buscar otras formas de vida. Pero ahora, en este momento, es un escenario diferente. Totalmente diferente. Porque no solamente se están creando políticas antimigratorias violatorias de derechos humanos, sino porque también se está reconfigurando lo que son y lo que se ha convertido hoy día las fronteras. Ya no podemos ver el mapa del mundo como lo mirábamos antes. Ya las fronteras están cambiando. Por ejemplo, Honduras en este momento nos hemos convertido en la frontera para llegar a Estados Unidos. Desde el momento que se ha firmado para que nos convirtamos en país seguro para Cuba y Venezuela. Entonces ya no es la frontera norte en México, ya estamos una frontera en Honduras. Hay reconfiguración del planeta respecto a lo que significa hoy día el tema de la migración. Y por eso celebro que me hayan invitado, porque es un tema que merece ya una atención especial. Ya no podemos hablar de la migración únicamente de los derechos de los migrantes en los países norte, en el norte. Tenemos y estamos obligados y obligadas y con la responsabilidad de abrir un debate sobre las razones y las causas de la migración. Porque no tenemos políticas para que la gente se quede. No tenemos políticas. No tenemos estrategias en nuestros países para que la gente se quede. A pesar de que lo que se ha venido desarrollando es una política para criminalizar al migrante y no se invierte recursos y no se desarrollan políticas para que la gente se quede en nuestros países. ¿Ustedes creen que si la gente estuviera viviendo bien, que tuviera bienestar, tendría esa fuerza para hacer ese camino que no solamente violenta los derechos humanos, sino que deshumaniza? La gente se expone y se supone que con las políticas migratorias vamos a dejar de movernos. Estamos totalmente equivocados en esa política. Está totalmente equivocado y es una política impulsada por el norte, por el gobierno de Estados Unidos. Los países se están militarizando. Ya hoy hablaba la compañera Claudia en su exposición, que yo no entendí mucho, pero con tanta pasión la sentí, porque la palabra militarización se entiende muy bien, de todo lo que significa y lo que se está apostando hoy día para detener la gente. Pero imagínense qué contradictorio. Como por ejemplo en un país como Honduras, donde se hicieron 3 sucesivos golpes de Estado, donde se destruyó la institucionalidad, donde se generó un Estado fallido, donde se generó un narcoestado y que hoy se responde con más militarización, más armas, más represión. ¿Usted cree que la gente se va a quedar? Por muchos que se invierta en las armas, por mucho que se invierta en la seguridad, la gente no se va a quedar. Y por eso tenemos una responsabilidad que el tema de la discusión de la migración hoy día requiere que hablemos de las causas. Porque ya no basta atender las necesidades del migrante en el norte, porque es incapaz de parar la oleada migratoria que hay con las políticas que se están implementando en nuestros países. Honduras, yo me preguntaba un día, ¿cómo es posible que pasen tantos africanos? Que los veíamos ahí en Tegucigalpa y la gente conoce incluso el hotel por donde pasa el africano. Y uno se pone a imaginar y se pregunta, ¿cómo llegaron a Honduras? O sea, si uno se pone en el imaginario, que es el otro, un continente lejísimo, y uno se pregunta, ¿cómo pudieron llegar a Honduras? Cientos de africanos, y cientos. Y con lo que ha pasado en Honduras nos damos cuenta que sí tenemos una crisis. Es una crisis humanitaria. Porque no es posible que en el caso de Honduras hayan salido miles y miles y miles y miles de personas y lo hayamos visto como una cosa normal. No es posible. Creo que ahí hay un problema, ¿no es cierto? Ahí hay un problema, porque es una crisis y tiene una causa, tiene que tener una causa. No es lo mismo que salgan 2, 3 personas a que salgan miles y que se junte la gente para caminar y que se convierta en una campaña mediática. Porque yo me pregunto quién ganó con las caravanas mediáticas. Ustedes se han preguntado quién es el que está ganando con las caravanas mediáticas. Aquí hay un ganador y es el presidente de ustedes, Donald Trump. Y les voy a decir por qué. Porque con las caravanas mediáticas, con la masiva migración y llegada del migrante, se exacerban, ¿qué cosas? Aumenta la intolerancia, aumenta la discriminación, el racismo, que es lo que representa Trump. Entonces la gente dice, necesitamos a Trump para que pare el migrante. Ojo que no vuelva a ganar en las próximas elecciones y crucemos los dedos. Hay que pensar y analizar eso. Hay una necesidad de analizar y de poder discutir este tema que ya es una emergencia mundial. Porque no solamente es lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos. Pare de contar lo que pasa en Europa, por ejemplo. Todos los días las pateras de africanos que cruzan el Mediterráneo para llegar a España, para llegar a los países de Europa. ¿Y cómo se responde? Militarizando, criminalizando y generando una xenofobia que ya no es posible sostener. Porque lo que nosotros estamos enfrentando allá, querramos o querramos, también afecta el norte. Y yo creo que es importante en ese sentido analizar las políticas y también discutirlas. Honduras, yo vengo de una costa que en el 2010 pasó el 70% de la droga para el norte. Eso está documentado, no me lo estoy inventando. Una costa totalmente militarizada, una costa donde han salido cientos y cientos de garífunas, mujeres con sus hijos e hijas en un viaje sin retorno, porque la mujer cuando se va con sus hijos e hijas no regresa, no va a regresar. Y es un costo político para nuestro pueblo, para el pueblo garífuna, que nos duele muchísimo, porque se están vaciando los territorios. Hay un vaciamiento de los territorios. Y cuando se vacían los territorios, preguntémonos quién se aprovecha de esos territorios. ¿Quién ocupa los territorios vaciados? Y Honduras, al haberse convertido en un laboratorio político en el que ustedes pueden ir a las redes, donde por ejemplo uno se puede preguntar, ¿por qué todo lo que hace Juan Orlando Hernández todavía sigue ahí? Preguntémonos, ¿será porque alguien cree lo que él dijo cuando se trajeron a Tony Hernández, de que él no sabía que su hermano era narcotraficante? ¿Será cierto eso, que uno no sepa lo que tiene en la familia? Y que eso sea aceptado. Hay muchas dudas sobre eso. Honduras es un país que hoy por hoy, en el Triángulo Norte, es el que tiene mayor población migrante para Norteamérica. Algunos llegaron aquí, la mayoría. Hay unos que están en México, en la frontera con México, pero todos los días. Y es increíble porque fíjese que hay gente que, por ejemplo, la regresan y dice, yo voy a volver. La regresan y dice, yo voy a entrar. La regresan y dice, yo vuelvo a irme. Y cuando una escucha eso, una dice, ¿qué está pasando? Algo tiene que estar pasando. Que una persona la regresen 3, 4 veces que haya sufrido en el camino y que siempre diga, yo me voy a regresar. Ahí una de usted dice, si es grave la cosa, porque al final de cuentas la gente siempre quiere venir. Este es un tema que tenemos que discutir para terminar. Yo no quiero quitarle mucho tiempo porque yo sé que hay todavía algo de la agenda. Yo creo de que es importante discutir algunos temas, poner en la mesa algunos temas, y es que nosotros en Latinoamérica estamos viviendo y se han venido implementando modelos de supuesto desarrollo o modernismo que ya nos damos cuenta que no son sostenibles. O sea, no funcionan, pues. O sea, ese modelo que el que nos han impuesto que tenemos que vivir y que ahora, cuando ya no hay casi recursos naturales, que se están agotando los recursos naturales, entonces hay una permanente y masiva explotación de los recursos, desplazando comunidades, generando megaproyectos, industrias extractivas. Por eso no es casual que hayan matado a Berta, como están matando mucha gente a nivel de toda América Latina. Colombia, ¿cómo es posible que no nos escandalicemos que en 24 horas hayan matado 7 o 8 dirigentes en la zona del Cauca? ¿Cómo es posible que sigamos contando muertos? Una persona asesinada vale la pena escandalizarse, como que estamos perdiendo la capacidad de escandalizarnos. Y eso es peligroso porque nos estamos deshumanizando. Ese modelo de desarrollo y modernismo, que no solamente no es sostenible para nosotros, porque no es sostenible para el planeta. No podemos seguir explotando los recursos naturales como se ha venido explotando, porque el planeta solo es uno y necesitamos este planeta que nos dé vida y que le dé vida a las futuras generaciones. Estos son temas que me imagino que ustedes en sus 30 años han venido discutiendo. Y que la mayoría de ustedes son no solamente líderes religiosos, sino que también conocen los países de América Latina y han estado involucrados y han participado y han visitado los países nuestros. Lo que pasa es que ahora hay una situación bien delicada, porque ese laboratorio político que se convirtió en Honduras para la destrucción de la institucionalidad es una copia y es un experimento que va a ser trasladado a los diferentes países. En América Latina no hemos puesto atención a eso. El golpe de Estado en Honduras fue replicado en Paraguay y fue replicado en Brasil. Golpes de Estado dentro de las institucionalidades. Un poder le da golpe al otro y se vuelve normal, porque no hay miles de muertos como hubieron en la década de los 70. Entonces, no, está bien, es sucesión presidencial, como lo que pasó con Honduras. Lo bautizaron como sucesión presidencial, pero ojo, porque hay un pacto de convivencia en los estados y en los gobiernos de la institucionalidad, donde se supone que el Estado está compuesto por 3 poderes y que hay un proceso de construcción de un modelo democrático. Y en Honduras eso está requebrado totalmente. No hay a quién acudir, no hay gobernabilidad, no hay derechos humanos vigentes. De hecho, las defensoras y defensores que estamos ahí resistiendo, luchando el día a día, llega un momento en que no sabemos a dónde ir, porque no hay institucionalidad. Es terrible cuando tú no tienes a dónde acudir, no solamente para poner una denuncia, sino también inclusive para decir, esperar una respuesta por la denuncia que estás poniendo. Esa es la realidad en este momento de Honduras. De nueva cuenta me pregunto yo, ¿será que no hay razón para que la gente salga? Que no solamente es por lo que ha pasado, sino que también todo lo que se fue destruyendo esa institucionalidad que no le permite a la gente como respirar y decir, yo me tengo que quedar aquí como sea. Y por eso todos los días sale gente. Todos los días sale gente de Honduras. Todos los días. Y es impresionante porque también afecta a la economía. Por primera vez hemos escuchado a las empresas privadas decir, no hay circulante. Hay ciudades que se están quedando como ciudades fantasma porque no hay fondos. No hay circulante, la gente no puede ir a comprar, no hay circulante. El otro punto que con el que quiero terminar es el tema de la militarización como estrategia de combate al narcotráfico. Y que es un tema que aquí alguna gente trabaja. En Honduras en este momento tenemos cuatro ejércitos, por si no lo sabían. Tenemos el Ejército Nacional, pero también tenemos el Ejército Norteamericano, tenemos el Ejército Israelita y tenemos el Ejército Colombiano operando en Honduras. No solamente para entrenar al Ejército y a la Policía Militar de Honduras, sino que también para asesorar en sistemas de seguridad. Algo que le compartí a las compañeras y a los compañeros, ¿cómo es posible, por ejemplo, de que en un país se decida crear un programa de guardianes de la patria llevando al ejército y a los militares a las escuelas para que den clases supuestamente de civismo? Ese es un programa creado por Juan Orlando Hernández. La policía y el ejército llegan a las escuelas a hablar con los niños y las niñas, supuestamente para hablar sobre darles clases de civismo. Imagínense ustedes lo que significa que las escuelas sean tomadas por el ejército en vez de ser tomadas por la cultura, la identidad, el arte. ¿Me entienden? Y eso es lo que funciona. De repente en una escuela está el ejército y los maestros tienen que someterse a eso, a recibirlos y que estén en las aulas dándole clase a los niños y niñas sobre civismo. Inclusive uno se pregunta qué es eso de civismo, ¿no? El golpe electoral del 2017, no puedo dejar de mencionarlo. En el 2017 hubieron elecciones, ustedes lo saben. Fueron robadas por Juan Orlando Hernández. Pero yo quiero decirles algo muy grave. No solo es el hecho de que él se haya impuesto como presidente, sino es el hecho que le robaron la esperanza a la juventud. Porque precisamente el contrincante, el que iba de candidato, había ganado mucha simpatía de la juventud. Era un comentarista deportivo, está bien, pero igual los jóvenes creían en él para cambiar la situación del país. Y aún así se montó Juan Orlando Hernández como presidente de Honduras. Ahí queda otro elemento a analizar. Si el pacto político de gobernabilidad, de convivencia, y el pacto y la base fundamental de la democracia electorera es que la gente vaya a votar y que se le respete el voto. ¿Qué significa que se monte alguien como presidente a fuerza? Y él, después del 2017, miren qué cosa, hay comunidades enteras y ciudades enteras donde no hay jóvenes. Los jóvenes se vinieron o se quedaban luchando, como muchos, para poder exigir el respeto a su voto, a su voluntad política, o los mataban. Y muchos decidieron venirse y salir del país. Y tenemos comunidades totalmente vaciadas de jóvenes. Y el joven no solamente es la fuerza laboral para el futuro, es también la construcción y la posibilidad de construir una nación. Entonces tenemos comunidades totalmente vacías de jóvenes. Es terriblemente grave lo que pasa en Honduras. Creo que es una necesidad, repito, de que abramos un debate, que analicemos y construyamos propuestas que no solamente sean una respuesta para lo del sur, sino que también analicemos lo que pueda pasar en las próximas décadas aquí en el norte. Si no realmente se analiza y se hacen y se definen políticas para la América del Sur, para que la gente se quede, hermanos y hermanas. Pensemos en las próximas décadas lo que va a pasar. No va a ser posible parar el mar de personas, pero tampoco va a ser posible detener toda una descomposición de la sociedad. Y creo que es importante que analicemos eso. Y yo celebro la oportunidad que se me ha dado para hablar sobre un tema de un país. Yo mañana me regreso. Mi vida está en riesgo en Honduras, pero yo me regreso. Y alguna gente me dice, Miriam, pero ¿por qué no estás afuera? Porque tengo que estar adentro. Fui 25 años de compañera de lucha de Berta Cáceres. Era mi compañera de lucha, mi amiga, mi cómplice. Por supuesto, al asesinar a Berta Cáceres, mi vida se puso más en riesgo, eso yo lo sé. Pero ahí estamos, tratando de construir, y no solamente para el pueblo garífuna, porque también estamos dando la palabra para todo el país. En cada espacio en que estamos diciendo, no merecemos ese destino. No merecemos ese destino. Honduras tiene recursos suficientes para generar bienestar, así como todos los países del sur tienen suficientes recursos para generar bienestar para todos y todas. Lo que pasa es que tenemos que pelear para que se genere ese bienestar, para que la gente se quede, nos quedemos, porque podemos vivir bien en nuestros países. Lo que pasa es que nos están condenando a la desaparición. Y por eso es que celebro y muchísimas gracias por darme la oportunidad de reflexionar con ustedes sobre un tema tan delicado, tan urgente, tan necesario y tan emergente como el tema de la migración en este momento. Muchas gracias.
This November 15th to 17th, the School of the Americas Watch will gather for the 30th anniversary commemoration of the Uca massacre in El Salvador of the 6 Jesuit priests and Elba and Selena Ramos. I am grateful to have walked most of those 30 years in sisterhood with the School of the Americas Watch and CRLN, both grassroots organizations and communities of justice in action who work in partnership for almost 3 decades. Because of CRLN's High Camp Scholarship Fund and Illinois SOA Watch Scholarship Fundraising together, collectively we have raised and given tens of thousands of dollars over the last 3 decades to promote accessibility and inclusivity of students and activists to participate, going to Georgia to protest the School of the Americas Watch, going to the last 3 years of the Border Encuentro, going to the DC advocacy visits, Latin American delegations, and recently we collaborated to support Latin American activists to come to Chicago for a bi-national SOA Watch General Assembly. In this collective organizing, we continue to open up space across the Americas for new and more diverse leadership to challenge and inspire us. This partnership is vital. So to give inspiration to this partnership, I'm going to invite you, with my 2 companions here, all you have to respond in singing is 2 words: courageous love. Can you say that with me? Courageous love. Except you're going to sing it. You're going to hear 3 parts. I'm going to do 1. We're going to have 2 more parts here. And you can pick one of those parts or pick your own part. It doesn't matter. We're all the courageous love. So we're going to say a phrase, and you're going to answer with courageous love. Stand up. Courageous love, speak up. Courageous love, rise up. Courageous love, don't give up. Courageous love, I said stand up. Courageous love, speak up. Courageous love, rise up. Courageous love, don't give up. Courageous love.
And Daisy, are you on the way up? So we said that CRLN does education, action, accompaniment, and advocacy. That education can be in the form of getting speakers in to tell you about issues, sending out newsletters about issues, but it also includes training young people in advocacy and activism. And Daisy Hernandez was the summer intern this year at CRLN, so I'd like her to share a few words about her experience.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, as Linda said, well, I'll describe it. I have brief remarks in Spanish first and then English. Sobre este verano pasado, a través del Centro para la Construcción de la Paz de la Universidad de Marquette, yo tuve la oportunidad de trabajar con CRLN. Fue un privilegio haber estado involucrada con la variedad de los temas que CRLN ayuda a actuar. Creé material para la impresión y correo electrónico, incluyendo las alertas de acción que recibieron en sus buzones. Además de la administración del sitio web, experimenté el trabajo de campo con Juan Carlos en el ámbito de la inmigración en la ciudad de Chicago. En el tiempo más ansioso de este verano pasado, directamente los ataques de las deportaciones masivas en la área. Trabajé con grupos de defensa en la comunidad local para participar en las reuniones con el cuerpo legislativo de Chicago, y la experiencia de autorrealización que obtuve sobre reunirme con líderes mundiales como Miriam fue un aspecto más significante de trabajar con esta organización no violenta. Hice el contraste entre el privilegio de este país, de Estados Unidos, de movilizar y llevar a la acción a nuestros representantes como individuos o bajo agencias que los otros países que con trabaja CRLN que no tienen. Y el ataque legítimo a la vida de las personas en las áreas de América Central y del Sur. No solo no tienen el privilegio de liberalizar y cultivar la acción colectiva, pero nuestro Estado actúa como propietario de los abusos y ataques de los derechos humanos por parte de las fuerzas del orden público de este país al apoyarlos con asistencia militar. Es decepcionante existir sin darse cuenta que la infracción de los Estados Unidos en estos países es una razón principal por la cual la tensión se acumula alrededor de las caravanas migrantes y otros inhibidores a la democratización en estos países. Como residente nacida y criada en Chicago, así como hija de inmigrantes indocumentados, ejercí mi privilegio en un espacio donde mis observaciones y perspectivas fueron legitimadas mientras abogada por los asuntos que me interesan y que me preocupan directamente. Me siento muy especial por ser parte de esta conversación y llevar el enfoque objetivo a las verdades subjetivas en estos asuntos globales. Gracias por permitirme ser parte del trabajo que todos apoyamos y defendemos colectivamente. A todos ustedes. Over the summer, through the Center for Peacemaking at Marquette, I got a chance to intern with CRLN. It was a privilege to have become very engaged with the variety of issues that CRLN helps bring action towards. I helped create the material for print and email, including the action alerts that were sent to you all throughout the summer. And besides website management, I got to experience field work in the realm of immigration with Juan Carlos in the city of Chicago at the height of the feared plans for mass deportations targeting our communities on the south and west sides. I worked with local community advocacy groups to sit in the meetings with Chicago's legislative body. You guys know how difficult that has been these days, especially with the CTU. The self-actualizing experience I gained from meeting with world leaders was the most significant aspect of working with this nonviolent organization. I made the contrast between the United States' privilege to mobilize and bring action to our representatives as individuals or under agencies, and the legitimate attack on people's lives in areas in Central and South America. Not only do they not have the privilege to liberalize and cultivate collective action, our state acts as a proprietor of the human rights abuses and attacks by these countries' law enforcement through military assistance support. It is unconscionable to exist without realizing that the U.S.'s infringement on these countries is one of the many reasons why tension builds around migrant caravans and other inhibitors to democratization in these countries. As a Chicago-born and raised resident and as a daughter of undocumented immigrants, I exerted my privilege in a space where my observations and my perspectives were legitimized while I advocated for the issues that I cared about and concerned me. I feel very special to be a part of this conversation and bring the objective approach to the subjective truths in this global matter. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of that and support the issues that we all collectively support.
Basically, this is a letter about people who have been criminalized in Miriam's community, one of Miriam's communities called Guapinol. This was a community that was located near a national park, and the government decided to give a concession to a mining company to mine right in the middle of the national park. There are 40,000 people who get their water from the rivers that flow through this national park. And mining, as it's done in Central America, there are no environmental protections against all that waste getting into the water. So the community set up a roadblock. They had an encampment where they kept up a peaceful resistance against this mine so that the equipment couldn't come in. But eventually the government sent in the military. I'm not sure which of the 4 militaries that Miriam was talking about that they sent in, but they sent in the military and violently evicted everybody from the camp. And in the process also arrested, I believe, 11 or 12 of them. There have been 2 court cases since then. The first court case, they let people off, and then in the second court case, they gave a ruling of pretrial detention to 7 of the people, and they sent them to La Tolva, which is a maximum security prison. Just a couple of days ago, one of the people who had given evidence in the trial against Tony Hernandez, the guards opened his cell and allowed people to come in and assassinate him. So the fact that these people are in prison, it is not a safe place, as our own prisons often aren't a safe place. But in this case, there's real concerns that if they remain in jail, they may also be retaliated against and possibly killed. So we are asking that you sign this letter to get some international pressure. International pressure has already succeeded in one thing. They were transferred from La Tolva to their local prison. So they're now close to their families, and their families can at least visit and check in on them and hopefully be vigilant on their behalf. They're still in danger. They're still not out of jail. They shouldn't even be in jail. The 2 things that they were accused of were minor crimes that do not require pre-detention or detention pre-trial. So if you would sign your name to this, we're going to collect as many signatures as we can tonight. We're going to send that to the State Department and the embassy and ask that the U.S. government, for what it's worth, I don't know if they will cooperate, but we're going to at least show them that a lot of people know about this case, are concerned about this case, and that we hope that they will work with the Honduran government to get these people out of jail. Thank you.
As you know, CRLN exists to work with our brothers and sisters in Latin America, but also our brothers and sisters here. And the effects of this militarization and what it causes people to do, which is migrate, as Miriam and so many others have mentioned. And somebody else mentioned that with a huge coalition of partners from throughout the region, Illinois and Indiana, and we helped beat Dwight trying to build a private prison. However, a private prison for immigrants. However, there are detention centers in our state, and one of them is operating in Kankakee. And the Kankakee County Board is somewhat secretive, and the sheriff is pushing for an airport to expedite deportations. And we have the privilege of having some folks from Connect Kankakee here, and folks from CRLN have taken this on and have gone down to Kankakee consistently over more than a year. It's been something that we've taken on because our members have asked us to do that. And we are who we are because of our network and good people like you. So there is also in that basket a letter, a very brief letter that you can sign that we will take to the Kankakee County Board to voice our opposition. We may not be residents of Kankakee County. However, people that are rounded up in this area are often sent there before they are deported from the Gary Chicago airport or by other means. So a lot of folks that are in our neighborhoods, our congregations, who might be coworkers, friends of friends or friends, end up going there before their deportations. That is something we're taking on. And I also have an information sheet there for when the Kankakee County Board is meeting. We're going to be meeting on the 12th, which is an evening meeting. And Connect Kankakee, which is a group of activists down there, they're helping to get a lot of folks down there. You can go on your own, and some folks from CRLN go as well. It's a long trip if you live on the north side, but it's worth it. And it's something we can do here locally to combat the demonization and dehumanization of our immigrant communities. Thank you.
One final, very important announcement. Please make sure to return your translation equipment at the table as you leave. I also want to make an announcement that CRLN, in beginning its next 30 years, is moving. We're moving to Hyde Park, and we will be in the some second floor rooms at University Church at 57th and University. We think this will give us an opportunity to reach out more to the south and the west sides, which we have not, because we're located north. A lot of the people that work with us have been in the north or in in Evanston. And we'll still keep working with you. We love you. You're our family. I just want to make that clear. But it does give us an opportunity to reach out with our message to more people that we haven't had much of a chance to reach out to before. So just an alert, we'll be sending you something about our new address and all of that stuff. Okay, but with that, we really are finished, and I'd like to call Brant Rosen up to give us the final prayer.
Before that, anything that you sign, please leave on the tables. Please leave on the tables. We will collect them. But that information sheet for the Kankakee, please take that with you. You can connect with us or go down there and be heard. And now, Rabbi Brant Rosen. Thank you.
Good evening. How about one final round of applause for all of our speakers and presenters and honorees tonight? Oh God, fill us with gratitude for this evening of celebration and witness, gratitude for the staff and the organizers and the workers that made this wonderful evening possible, gratitude for CRLN and the sacred work it does on behalf of immigrant justice and sanctuary and solidarity in Chicago and beyond. Oh God, help us. Help us to uphold the values that are so central to who we are, human beings created in the image of God. Help us to find compassion in our hearts and justice in our deeds for all who seek freedom and a better life. May we find the strength to fight on behalf of migrants, to ensure just treatment for all who dwell in our land. O God, guide us. Guide us toward one law, one justice, one human standard of behavior to all. Move us away from the equivocation that honors the divine image in some but not in others. Let us forever affirm that the justice we purport to hold dear is nothing but a sham if it does not uphold basic human dignity for all who dwell in our midst. O God, strengthen us. Strengthen us to find the wherewithal to shine your light into the dark places of our world. Give us the ability to uncover those who are hidden from view, locked away, forgotten. Let us never forget that nothing is hidden and no one lost from before you. Embolden us in the knowledge that no one human soul is disposable or replaceable, that we can never, try as we might, lock away the humanity of another. Remind us of our duty to create a just society right here, right now, in our day. Give us the vision of purpose to guard against the complacency of the comfortable and the resolve in knowing that we cannot put off the cause of justice and freedom for another day. Remind us that the time is now. Now is the moment to create your kingdom here on earth. May it be your will, and may it be ours. And let us all say, Amen. Good evening, and thank you all.